Hello, welcome. It's day 2. What a blast we had yesterday. We enjoyed seeing your reactions on social media and here on the platform, which is absolutely amazing. So we continue talking about the future of freelancing. And today we have 2 excellent speakers joining us. I definitely recommend listening to their presentation because it's going to be eye-opener. And later this weekend, I do want to mention that we have a special activity for you guys. I'd love that we can meet physically, but we cannot, right? The situation in the world is so crazy, but we do want to see where you are located. We have attendees from 47 countries and we want to see your country. So this weekend, go outside, take pictures, videos, post it on your social media, tag I am freelance, freelance business month. And then at the end, we'll produce something nice out of this material. Let's do that. I'd love to see that. Okay, so let me get to the subject now. We have Denise Brouder today joining us. Denise will give a presentation and then she will join a live discussion. You can find the Zoom link at the on the page, on the same page as the video. Denise is a workplace strategist. She's a futurist. She holds a number of high-level positions at Goldman Sachs and Bank of America. And now she's a founder of Sway Workplace, which is a learning and growth community. We invited her to share with us what are the trends in the workplace so that we freelancers can adapt to them much quicker and be prepared for the conversation with the clients. Please enjoy it. I hope you will be inspired by what Denise is going to say. And then we see you live online. So we'll see you online. And then I invite you to also join the session with John Younger. With that, I'm passing to Denise.
Hi there. My name is Denise Brouder. I am a future of work enthusiast and practitioner. I am the founder at Sway Workplace. We are the leading community for people and teams mastering flexible work as the key to the future of work. I am glad that you're here, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have a chance to speak with you directly about the changing nature of the relationship between clients and freelancers in the context of the broader future of work trends. There are 5 things I like to talk about when it comes to the future of work that I think are important for you to know today. The first one is that the future of work is a journey, not a destination. And this is interesting because it gives the perspective of time. Work is a global language that we all speak. It is fundamental to who we are as people. We work to provide a paycheck to pay our bills and keep us out of poverty. We work as an expression of who it is that we are. We work to find purpose and meaning in what we do and to create hope for ourselves and the people around us. So work as a global language is very significant, and it's how we connect and bond to each other. And it's been developing over time. And I think that looking back in history is really interesting to see how we have developed and evolved, because it also can give us some really interesting information about predicting where it is that we go in the future by looking at human behavior and trends. So just by historical context, we used to be nomadic. For a long time, we were all nomadic, moving from point A to point B on a survival mechanism. With our first layers of innovation, we created ways to tame animals and grow crops, and we developed an agricultural system. Following that, we had the innovations of early steam use and electricity to develop and move into the technology, and more recently, our digital revolutions. These were all major milestones in time and over time, where we have very successfully reimagined and redesigned work to create new sources of economic value that suited what was happening in economies of that day and of that time. Now, what's really interesting is that we find ourselves today on the precipice of the next iteration of an economy. We generally and collectively call this the 4th Industrial Revolution. And very simply, we are at that again in a game that we have played over and over in the past and done so in a productive way. Now, the 4th Industrial Revolution refers to the idea of how where, how, and why we work is going to be influenced and changed by the nature of artificial intelligence technologies and their adoption in the workplace. All of this is about change. And as a freelancer, what's important to note is that you are always in a state of reimagination and adaptation because change is your opportunity. The second thing I like to point out in terms of future of work trends is that work is a system. And from a design and systems perspective, this is an interesting one to think about. The work itself is a formula, and it's made up of three main components: the worker, plus the work being done, plus the workplace are the three parts of the formula. And when these three parts come together, that's how we create value, and it's how we create something new. Now, that formula is governed and has been governed for a long time by four primary stakeholder groups. We have academia that teaches, we have government that says policy and regulation, we have companies that hire, and we have the workers that contribute and do the work. So by design, the system itself holds and has held over time. But what has changed on all those milestones I referred to in point number one, and what will continue to change over time, is the dynamic in the relationship between those individual parts and how they engage with one another. So historically, it was very simple. People were on the line, they were managed very hierarchically, and it was all done at a central headquarters, and the system itself was simple. But the dynamics most recently have been challenged over the last several years by the worker, considered the younger generation, who are seeking more freedom from the workplace. Think of the evolution and spread of WeWork. And that's made possible by innovating in the workflow. Think of the evolution and developments of Zoom and Slack that are most widely used today. So the dynamics between relationships are subject to change. And ahead of the fourth industrial revolution, we're reevaluating once again how those relationships work and how the parts engage with one another. The reason this is really, really critical is about point number three. And point number three is about the foundational nature of the future of work. So the future of work is an emerging ecosystem and a whole industry upon itself. Now, typically when we think of industries, they generally live in verticals. You can have healthcare, telecom, and real estate. But what's interesting about the future of work is that it's totally horizontal in nature, and it crosses at the very base every traditional industry vertical. It has such broad relevance because it's concerned with how we optimize where, how, and why people work in a way that creates new sources of sustainable economic value. And it affects every industry right across the board. The fourth interesting point to mention about the future of work is what centers on human potential. Human potential, quite simply, is the difference between what it is that you were born to do and what it is that you're doing today. If we step back and think about what's happening in terms of trends and evolutions, machines now make products. And technology, specifically artificial intelligence technologies, are continuing to automate tasks that we typically would do. So if we're not making products, machines are doing that, and more the tasks we would do on a day-to-day basis are being automated away. Where does that leave us? That leaves us with a lot of time and energy to spend on doing what it is that we do best. And that's the idea of what it is that it is to be human. How do we collaborate and connect and creatively solve problems in whole new ways? Companies seek this style of work and this outcome to drive new sources of revenue streams in this new iteration of our economy. And interestingly, workers are seeking this as well, because with tasks out of the way, they have an opportunity to more clearly find a path towards meaningful and purposeful work in what it is that they do. How do we get there? I believe that we get there in the future of work by reimagining human intelligence. For a really long time, and in a lot of major circles today, we think of intelligence as only intellectual. So it's book smarts. So what can I read in a book? But I think that human intelligence is much broader than that. I believe that human intelligence is not something, it's not a place, it's not something you can earn, it's not a credential you can have, but I think that it's a destination. And I see human intelligence as the intersection of physical intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and intellectual intelligence. Those are the four quadrants and the four parts of the being. And when those four parts of you are in balance and in place, you have a much higher probability of being able to find your own creative sense of intuition with a high degree of clarity. And that's what a huge opportunity we have at hand in terms of discovering and amplifying our collective human potential. Point number 5. So why now? Why is this relevant in this moment in time? Something I want to mention is the idea that there is enough artificial intelligence technologies in the market today to automate a significant percentage of the tasks that we do. But there really is only a very small fraction that is commonly used. So the wide delta between availability and deployment is low user adoption rates. And why? Because people generally have an instinct to resist change because change can be fearful. Where we are today and the experience that we've had in this COVID global pandemic is that it has forced everyone, even those who went kicking and screaming, into the digital world. And we are now all operating with a newly developed digital mindset that will inevitably accelerate AI adoption rates in the workplace. So those are the 5 main points I wanted to share with you about the evolving trends in the future of work. But what's really interesting about our opportunity today is to have a conversation about how has this changed? So how is where we are in this moment with the global pandemic, how has that affected the trends that have been evolving? And I see it changing and evolving in 4 unique ways. One is in immediacy. What were these evolving trends in the world of work has become a need for immediate consideration and action, because we find ourselves today is deeply reassessing the role of the worker, the design of the workplace, and the location of where work happens. The second unique point is that of population. This is a multi-generational and multi-industry issue. There is no one that has escaped this impact. 100% of the labor force, wherever they may sit and however they may engage with work, are entirely in play. The third interesting point is that of the digital mindset that we referred to earlier. This mass scale of forced remote work that we've all found ourselves in was akin to this global training event in developing a digital mindset. There was no other way we could have on this scale ever all concurrently developed this mindset, but here we are. And now this is a skill that most people have. Now the major upside of this is that it completely de-risks the ask and the shift towards flexible and unbundled work. Pre-COVID, most people would have thought they couldn't work in this style. Post-COVID, we all know that we can. And I think throughout the course of the next year and a half, we're going to find out that we want to work in a flexible and unbundled way. That's a major change towards the evolution of the future of work. The fourth interesting aspect is that of safety. In the US, after September 11th, we changed how we thought about our physical safety, and we became a lot more aware. We changed how we fly. We changed how we go through airports. We became more aware when you're in crowded settings. After the financial-ish crisis of 2008, we all became very financial aware. We became aware of spending, saving, and what that meant in creditworthiness. And we changed our user behavior around that permanently. With the COVID global pandemic, we are changing how we think about health safety. This is an evolution of awareness and is irreversible because you simply can't unknow what it is that you do know. So I foresee more people who may choose the independence that comes with freelance style work so they can create their own workflows and ensure their health safety. So what does this all come down to? We've spoken about 5 major trends in the future of work. We've also just discussed the idea of how has the impact of the global pandemic impacted those trends. But where does this all come down to? What is the action and what does this boil down to? In my mind, the future of work will be a blend between a flexibly minded core workforce and what we call the liquid workforce, where employees and freelancers will work together seamlessly. And why so? I think we get there because the workplace will no longer be a central headquarters where everyone goes on this fixed timescale. I believe that we're going to have the workplace is going to be a blended portfolio spread from central headquarters across suburban micro headquarters with an interspersing of local co-working close to where people live and highly connected home offices. So I think that the whole real estate portfolio will completely evolve to be blended in nature. I also think that the workflow will divide. So instead of coming to work, where the workplace being where all work happens, I think the deep thinking, the creative, and the individual contributor side of the work that you do will happen in these dispersed workplace locations. And that we will, from time to time, come together intentionally in a headquarters space to collaborate and spend time on solving problems in unique ways. In essence, what I am saying is that the workplace will no longer be where work happens. It will be where the most valuable work is created. So we're diversifying and we're opening and we're unbundling the worker, the workplace, and the workflow. Most notably, for relevance to today's audience, I think that's going to have, what we're going to see is that the line between a traditional employee and a freelancer will continue to blur. As employees develop a more independent and flexible and agile mindset, I see freelancers becoming a more integral part of what it is to have a balanced workflow. This transformation is driven by a term I mentioned earlier, which is that of the unbundling of work, where work is no longer a job description, but an unbundled set of problems to be solved. And an unbundled set of problems to be solved can be best accomplished by having a diverse set of workers working on those problems. So, in my perspective, what I believe is that the future of work is human, and a blended and balanced approach between all of the items we listed out above is exactly how it is that we get there. And I, for one, am excited for where we're heading. So that is a wrap for me. I hope that you have found this presentation valuable, and I mostly hope that it has helped for you to create a new perspective on how you engage with the work that you do, on who you do the work with, and who you do the work for. I wish you much prosperity as you continue to grow and strengthen your freelance business. And for more information on anything that you've heard today, you can find us and follow us at Sway Workplace on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And until the next time, I hope you take care, and I wish you all the very best of luck.